Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 498. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the internationally acclaimed writer and podcaster, Dennis Robinson.
Hey, Dennis. Barney, thanks for having me. The listeners aren't going to hear this, but you and I get off on tangents every time we talk, and we were talking for a half hour. We're talking for a half hour about all kinds of things. So yeah, no, it's always great coming on the show and talking to you, or just talking to you in general. So I appreciate you having me on again.
So I got to say though, it's the plug for my patrons. So unedited conversations that I have, my patrons get to see the unedited interview. So they get to see all the fun stuff we were just talking about. See?
Also, I'm internationally published too.
Well, see, there you go.
Since the last time we talked, I got published over in Spain.
In Spanish? Was it in Spanish?
Yes. Yeah, it's in Spanish, yeah.
Okay,
which was a whole list of other issues that became of that, but it is what it is.
So Lycan, Solomon's Odyssey, the award-winning graphic novel about the world's first werewolf, and you're here to talk about chapter 4, correct?
Yes. Yeah, the Kickstarter for chapter 4 is launching March 1st. So when you're hearing this episode, it's already live. And
it's already live.
Yeah, and the campaign's going until the 31st of March. Reason I did that, the 31st is my birthday. So yes, I am going to milk that for anything that I possibly can. And then I'll also still be doing late pledges, so people could still back. I believe the items get just a smidge more expensive, like a couple bucks. If you do the late, so it's better to get in during the campaign because that's when all the excitement is anyways. So
right. And then we and to make sure that we let people know too, when this episode comes out, as we say, it'll have already been launched and you've already been working on your 5th stretch goal by the time this launches.
I hope so. I hope so. So before I always do a stupid amount of work before a Kickstarter happens. Usually about a year in advance, I start planning out stretch goals or rewards, things like that. In this particular instance, it's a bit more wonky because this was supposed to launch in November of last year. And if you want to get into why that happened, we could definitely talk about it. But so it got delayed to March of this year. So I've had extra time to think about things. So I have all the stretch goals figured out. It's just a matter of, as we unlock them, it's just, all right, making the blackened outline of whatever it is on the screen, like you can see what it is and all that jazz.
So let me ask you then, just a little side note then for someone who's an experienced Kickstarter. Kickstarter, I guess. What does I say that?
Kickstartist.
Kickstartist. Oh, I love that. Okay, yeah.
Just right off the top of my head, I like that one. Yeah.
Did you just make that? No, did you make that up?
Yeah. These are the skills that you develop when you play D&D. Just come up with crap off the top of your head.
I know. I know. So do you for instance, when you put together your stretch goals, do you put in the ones that you personally like first, or you put in the ones that you really like this is going to be gold, I want this to be further down the line?
So a bit of a mixed bag. I don't usually put any stretch goals that I dislike in there. It's just a matter of sort of value proposition. So what I mean by that is, so for instance, one of the stretch goals is like a hardcover version of the book or a foil on the cover. But I've moved those down to the point where if we make enough money to pay me back for the book, then I'll start to do that stuff. Because I start off so this book, if memory serves, is going to cost me somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000 that I pay for out of my pocket already. So the Kickstarter just pays me back some of the money. So I learned my lesson after the first Kickstarter. Don't put things in the stretch goals that are basically going to just completely negate any of the money that you made to like offset things. So hardcovers especially are really expensive to get made. They're really nice. I love them, but they're hard to keep in stock. So that's a tier. That's like a goal that I usually, or a stretch reward that I put usually around the $25,000, $30,000, mark, something like that. Early rewards, because usually I do like every $2,000 above the reward. So bookmarks, mini prints, holographic trading cards, things like that. And then as you work your way even further, it's more and more art basically. And the reason I do that, again, like I said, I've learned this lesson the hard way. you don't want your stretch goals to be something that it's going to end up costing you a lot of money, like in the long run. So paper products are a lot easier. And there's plenty of art, since it's a comic book, that I can pull from and give to people in terms of like posters or mini prints or, things like that. And even if you do like customized pens or, 3D printing files, all that type of stuff. Those are things that don't necessarily cost you a lot of money, but, seem nice, especially if you get a bunch of stretch goals unlocked. And then at the end of the campaign, people are getting like a whole boatload of free stuff that they didn't, anticipate on getting in the first place.
So remind people about, like in Solomon's Legacy, what is the, what's the pitch for it?
So the elevator pitch that I usually do at shows is that Lycan Solomon's Odyssey is the story of the world's first werewolf. It's a little horror, a little mythology, a little adventure, a little history. The first book in the series is the origin story, sets everything into motion, and that one takes place in 8000 BC Mesopotamia. And then every book in the series after that, it's the same main character, Solomon, but he's interacting with different regional monsters, mythologies, gods, things like that. So the second book I describe as it's all about ancient Arabic mythology and folklore. The third book is described as H.P. Lovecraft meets Gilgamesh. And then this fourth book is set in ancient Egypt. So you have Solomon, the world's first werewolf, running around ancient Egypt where there are Egyptian gods and, that sort of thing.
Right. And now, so one of the most beautiful things about when you working in like a classic horror genre, you see a lot of writers like to take the mythology and kind of tip it on its head a little bit. So what's one of the things that you've done with werewolves that is like common mythology and mythos about werewolves that you've been able to like sidestep a bit?
So I have so basically I have the first book sets in the basic rules, full moon comes up, turns into a werewolf, that whole thing. As the series goes on, it gets a little bit more murky as far as those rules go, so for instance, in the first book, we find out that if you get him like right to the brink of death, that will also cue up the werewolf to pop back out because it's sort of like a defense mechanism. But then as we move along, we find out that the werewolf is actually a separate entity. It's more like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde than anything else, where it's like two different personalities stuck in the same body kind of thing. So especially if you get close to killing him, the other one's just going to take over and make sure that doesn't happen. Another one of those things, magic. So in the second book, we reveal that magic can actually influence whether or not that can change because it's more based on the mind and things like that. So you can basically break the mind and cause the werewolf to pop out. The third one, we show that essentially in a state of elevated grief to the point where basically they have all but snapped, that can also cue a change. And then the fourth book actually delves more into the soul and how these are two separate entities sort of woven together in one body. And we actually also delve a lot into the afterlife and, how gods and afterlives work in the world as far as this book goes. So there's lots of different stuff. So as far as the standard werewolf mythos, because, the standard one is you get bit by a werewolf, you turn into a werewolf. But this is the first werewolf, so there's no werewolf to bite Solomon. So in this case, I went with a Faustian deal sort of situation. That's how he becomes a werewolf in the first place. However, the plan eventually in the series is that every kind of werewolf you see in books or TV or movies, they all also exist in this universe eventually. But Solomon is his own little thing. Like he can't bite somebody and turn them into a werewolf. He can't scratch somebody and turn them into a werewolf. If he has kids, they don't turn into werewolves. So it's like he's his own little self-contained thing. But I look at werewolves in this universe like a spectrum. So on the one side of the spectrum, have you ever seen the show True Blood?
Yeah.
They're just wolves. Like that's the werewolves. They're just wolves. They're not even big. There's just a wolf. That's the one side of the spectrum. 100% wolf. The other side of the spectrum is like the TV show Supernatural. Their werewolves are literally just sharp claws and teeth, and that's it. So it's about as human can get. And then right dead in the center of the spectrum, that's where Solomon is. He's 50-50 both. And the closer you get to that middle part of the spectrum, the stronger I say, well, we haven't done it yet in the universe, but that's what I'm going to say. The closer you get to the middle of the spectrum, the stronger it is, because you're getting, equal of both worlds, basically.
Right. Okay.
And then this book, I'm
so,
also introducing silver. So that is also, one of the standard werewolf mythos, things that you hear in every werewolf story is silver. So this is where it gets introduced because, in ancient times, that stuff wasn't just, all over the place. You couldn't just get it anywhere.
and how does chapter 4 kind of, as you mentioned too, kind of like continue the story along?
Sure. So in the third book, Solomon basically he hears about these gods, and he goes to seek them out and see if they can cure him, because this whole thing is he's just trying to find a cure. And essentially that goes sideways and doesn't work out for various reasons. If people want to know, they can, I don't want to give them spoilers or whatever. But after that book ends, he's like, okay. So he goes back on the search. And the fourth book opens with essentially Solomon's been wandering around trying to find soothsayers, witch doctors, people who know magic, anything, like just trying to any lead he can to figure out if there's a way to cure himself. And he finds this witch, which in the pages that I actually show for the Kickstarter, you can actually see this whole entire sequence taking place. Essentially, there's this witch that lives in the mountains, but you have to know the path to get to the witch, and you have to give her like some sort of sacrifice in order for her to do a thing. So Solomon follows this guy who's planning to give like a baby to the witch in exchange for like killing his brother so he can get the inheritance. And Solomon stops that and basically makes the witch do what he wants. And his end of the deal is, I don't kill you if you tell me what I want to know. So she can't fix him. It's a whole thing. And she's like, ah, crap. So she essentially tells Solomon, but ancient Egypt, this seems to be an affliction of the soul, and they know all about the soul over there in Egypt. So like, go seek them out. And so Solomon travels to Egypt, and that's where he, basically gets a meeting with priests and priestesses, and they do a whole ceremony where they essentially look at his soul, and they realize, I've never seen this before. I don't know what to do with this. But they're like, if you pray to Anubis, maybe, he'll answer your prayers or something like that. And then spoilers, eventually, yes, he does get an audience with Anubis, who is very snarky and sarcastic. And so essentially Anubis explains everything. And it does delve a lot into the Egyptian mythology of weighing the heart and guilt and, all that sort of thing, the duat. So I do like to pull from mythology, and while also crafting sort of my own story, but I like that sandbox to play in. So that's how Solomon gets to where he is. And then that story sets up where he's going for the next book.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. And how many books do you see this end up? How many chapters is this going to be?
Assuming I don't keel over, the plan is 15 books. So
wow,
3 5-chapter arcs is the plan.
So you're planning on doing 15 books, you said?
Yep.
And this is going to be 4.
Yep.
And you put out one every 2 years?
Well, it used to be one every year or year and a half. Unfortunately, as I write the books, they just keep getting a little longer and a little longer and a little longer. So now it's stretching to be a little bit more like 2 years for each of the books to come out. So so it's going to take me quite a bit, unless, something happens and maybe, popularity explodes and then the artist can prioritize my stuff as opposed to, because the production on this book actually got delayed by about, I think it was 6 months, because we were supposed to start in October of 2024, but my artist was asked to work on Conan the Barbarian, so obviously I got pushed to the side, which understandably so. I totally get it.
Right.
But he's actually the second member of my team that got a job doing Conan the Barbarian because of my books, so it's kind of funny and cool.
Well, yeah, he should give you a discount then because you gave him work.
Yeah. But But yeah, so the plan is, what the problem is, I've written the outline for the 5th book. It's so much longer. It's the longest by far. So the first 2 books are each 72. The 3rd book was 96. The 4th one's 108. The 5th one, if the book actually stays to the length of the outline, it'll be 100 and I think 52 pages or something like that.
152-page graphic novel.
Yeah.
Wow.
That one's set in ancient Greece, and I love Greek mythology, so it's kind of like I can't say no to certain things. I'm like, I want to have this in, and I want to have this in, and I want to have this in. So who knows? Maybe when my editor reads the outline, she'll be like, okay, you don't need this and this. Like you're just being too much now.
And so give us a little bit so do you know then each step of what timeline? So what's like 6 and 7?
You asked that question, and my artist asked me that same question today, this morning. Yeah. He goes, so what's the timeline for the next book? And I said this, and he goes, well, do you already have all the books planned out? I said, yeah. I said, do you want to know what happens in the rest of them? And he goes, well, I don't want to know what happens, but when does it take place? I'm like, okay, this one takes place here. This one takes place here. This one takes place here. And he's like, oh, okay. Wow. All right. I said that now that might change by the time I get to that book. I may change my mind. The end point is always going to be the end point. And there are certain things that I want to definitely do. In the 3rd arc of books, I'm definitely doing World War II. And I have to do the Civil War because I live in Gettysburg. So, I mean, obviously I got to do something Civil War related, or at least Wild West.
And then, Wild West, Civil War, the whole period is, yeah.
But yeah, so I have a pretty good idea of what every book's going to be. I don't have the 5th book is the last one that I have the specific details of exactly what I'm going to do. The other ones are just this is the idea of the area or the mythology that I want to explore, things like that.
Right. So you have to make sure you have one of there's something that is compelling about a werewolf in disco 70s, I think would be great.
That would be really funny. I could make that work. We'll see how it lines up with the timeline of the 5 books. Because someone was like, well, you know full well your first arc's going to be 5 books, and then you're going to get into the second arc and be like, well, there's this other story I kind of want to tell. Well, who cares if it's 6 or 7 books? And then the next one's, 6, 7, 8 books. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to give myself even more work to do than I already do.
And talk about as well, it's that, so you wrote the outline. Did you also have to do, what was more important for you, to establish Solomon's character arc, or was it more important to actually create the world he resides in first?
So for me, it was the world, because that's essentially building the sandbox to play in, like figuring out the parameters for everything that's going on around him, and then slowly focus it in down on the main character and be like, okay, so this is everything that's going on around. Okay, now what's this character about and what's he doing? So the world and the timeline was what I had first. And technically, I still haven't figured out where they are. I have these yellow lined notebook paper that I took notes because I had this idea back 15 years ago for this comic book for the world's first werewolf. And I was like, oh, this would be a cool time period. And this would be a cool time period. And I just made a timeline of this would be cool to have a werewolf in. I have them somewhere. I don't know where they are. So I've always had the idea of the timeline first before I even had the plan for the character or exactly what he was going to do or anything like that. So I would say in that scenario, the world came first.
Is there other things that are you working on? Or are you just 100% like in Solomon's Odyssey? This is your one thing.
Oh, if we're talking in general, I have a full-time day job as a consultant. That job pays for this job. So there's that. I don't like it, but I do it. Whatever, it's fine. So Lycan is the main thing I would say, but I also have my D&D podcast that I've been doing for, if you could believe it now, this is our 10th year of doing that show.
Wow.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, I was like, oh no, 10 years. That's a long time. I actually ran into an ex-girlfriend at a show a couple months ago, and she was like, oh, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, I write, comics and paint nerdy little landscapes. And she goes, oh, so you do that instead of the podcast? I said, no, I still doing it. So there's that. And we do live show. We normally record on Tuesday nights, and we'll probably record after we get done with our interview. But we go to Dragon Con every year, and we do a live show in front of about 300 some people, and it's a lot of fun. And, we do that whole thing. But I would say the main focus of everything other than my day job is Lycan. And then what I started doing at shows, probably actually since, this is new since the last time you and I talked. I started doing nerdy little landscape paintings in the style of Bob Ross.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so now I do. I think actually, you know what? I had just started doing it when we talked the last time, and I only had I think 6, 7, 8 paintings, something like that. I have over 50 now, and people love them at shows. And I'm always doing new ones. So basically, any free time I have that isn't going towards Lycan, I'm then doing paintings, because I can do that, in a day, 2 days, something like that. Wherever I have time, and get prints made, take them to shows, or sell the original paintings. I started selling stickers of them. People freaking love stickers, man. I don't get stickers, but people love them. So that's the other focus, I would say, is that there are other stories that I would like to do, but for me, I probably won't start on those until Lycan's at least profitable,
right,
or breaking even, because I don't need another hole to dig. So we'll see how that goes. If one day, maybe I get a Netflix deal or something like that, then it's like, okay, great. Now I can start throwing money at these other 2 books that I've thought about doing. Because the one I have a title, and both of them, I know exactly right. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I know the setting and the sort of the flavor and the vibe and all that stuff. So I have those kind of figured out. I just haven't sat down and started writing anything yet.
So if people want to learn more about you, Dennis, and your work, where can they go?
So you can go to hiveheadstudios.com, like a beehive. And that website has pretty much everything on there. It's got information about the team, the books. You can actually read the first, I think it's 18 or 20 pages of the first book for free as a PDF. You can read about the books there as well. You can buy the books and my nerdy little landscape paintings and everything else. You could do that on the store in there. You could do digital, physical, any of that stuff, whatever. You can actually see what convention is going to be at. So if I'm going to be in your area and you'd be like, oh, I want to go check that guy out in person or whatever, you could do that too.
Well, thank you so much, Dennis. And listen, you're going to have to come back on again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Chapter 6 comes out. See?
Maybe I'll have another Scranton story.
See, there you go.
Thank you so much for having me, Barney. I appreciate it. It's always a great time talking to you.
I do. Thanks a lot, Dennis.